For those of you here for the first time, we do this every single week. So every week, we're here at the Pioneer, same place, same time. Next week, we're talking about building the next generation of biotech companies. That's right. We have one founder who's built incredible companies in the past, now building in stealth mode. We got a couple professors at the U of C as well, and then one more biotech founder as well on the panel. So that's April 10th. April 17th, we're talking about the power of real-time data. So how real-time data can influence your large language models and any sort of use case that you have for data in your company. So that's on April 17th. Again, some awesome folks on that panel. And April 24th is scaling your IP strategy. So with the chief legal officer at Neo Financial, we have Neeraj Gupta, and we have a few other folks on that panel. So come back to those. But today, we have a treat. A treat, this beautiful banner that's been here every single week since April of last year. Our sweet and handsome man has flown in from Toronto to join us and bless our stage to talk about how do you grow and build in uncertain times. Now, believe it or not, today, of all days, is quite a fascinating day to have that conversation. We woke up to the S&P 500 dropping 3.5% on open. I think it closed down 5% from yesterday's close. Yeah, I don't know what that means, honestly. I'm not an economist. I heard it's bad, but it could be good. I don't know. Inflation expectations, is that the metric? Up at an all-time high as well. The US dollar is dropping. So pardon my language, what the fuck does that all mean? So what we've done today is we've set up this panel in a way that we have some questions, but I think we also want to be very open and open it up to you guys. If you guys have questions that are like, what does this mean? What's going on? We want to make sure that you have opportunities to ask questions. So maybe Chris, as the moderator, I'll let you sort of dictate how you want to take questions, but this is a small crew, so don't feel intimidated by your questions. Don't be shy. We're all friends here. Cool. Okay, I think that's it. In terms of like how we're going to set this up, it's about 45 minutes an hour, but we got this place all night, so feel free to stick around and meet some folks. And that's what Tech Thursday is all about. So that's it. So Chris Brown is our moderator from Calgary Economic Development, Shannon Dougal at Zayzoon, and we have Andrew Dale at Float as well. So let me call everyone up, and thank you so much. Give it up for these guys.
Okay. Where are you sitting?
All right, well, welcome and thank you for having us. I think you did a good job of setting up the peak uncertainty. So I'll spend maybe 1 minute doing a bit of a preamble and a bit of a setup before we dive into questions. So at Calgary Economic Development, our mandate is to position Calgary for long-term economic success by attracting, retaining, and expanding capital, companies, and talent. So certainly we like certain environments, I guess, right? You know, that capital piece, that company piece, even talent, they really rely on understanding the future, having some sort of reliable forecast. Everyone kind of pauses in uncertain times. So the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, so we presented their their uncertainty measure at our Uplook Live event around agribusiness. So it was peak. It was like, I think 1,300, if I get that number right. So now don't quiz me on what's involved in that. Certainly, I just stopped by our economist's office and said, hey, what's it at today? It's like, is it still updated? Because I was going to say now we're off peak because of the tariffs sort of. Certainly, it must be more certain. No, it's gone even higher now. So it's certainly peak uncertainty. I'm going to try not to say those words together anymore. And we really think in our work and how it reflects in our work, we try and attract and expand companies' capital and talent. So we're dealing with companies all the time. And unfortunately, you know, we went through 2023. We all understand that uncertainty and those economic headwinds, rising inflation, higher borrowing costs, and everyone just paused. I feel like in our work, we're back to Q2 2023 now. We hear all the time, talking to all the companies, let's just wait and see. We can't make decisions now, and that affects everything, right? It affects all that sort of delayed investments and pauses on decision. So in that realm and with that lens, I would love for each one of you to introduce yourselves. And Andrew, maybe we'll start with you. Tell us who you are, tell us a little bit about Float, and maybe do it in a way or from a perspective of uncertainty.
That's easy to do in this moment. In this room, quick show of hands, like how many of you had a tough day with the news today, whether in like your personal portfolio for your business? Okay, so what is that, like 20%, 25%? How many of you had like a good day? It's okay, that guy, yeah.
All right.
And how many of you are neutral? Yeah, the remainder. And we realize this is, this room is a microcosm of the companies that we serve at Float. Float serves 4,000 Canadian businesses, and we are a business finance platform. And that means all of the expenses, payments, the storage of funds to earn the best interest rates, the reconciliation of your expenses to your accounting system so that receipts don't get lost and your finance team doesn't chase you and you don't get into a situation where you run out of money, run through a single platform that's called Float. And we serve businesses all over the country, from our headquarters in Toronto to companies in the Yukon and Northwest Territories, and of course some amazing Calgary businesses. And they range from the corner bakery to companies like Burger King and Nixware and Ada and some amazing local businesses in Calgary that I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose. Neo Financial, another great customer of Float, and many others. And so when we talk to our customers, we don't hear a universal message. We hear some are deeply impacted. If you're an e-commerce business shipping goods into the US and you're about to be taxed at 25% and that de minimis exemption is going to go away, you're probably feeling like crap. Before that exemption went away, you probably thought you were going to get away with it. And if you're a services business selling to Canada, maybe the impact is more indirect, like your customers are in Canada, but Canadians are frazzled. The markets are gyrating. People are like, what's going on? Should I buy a house now? Should I be hiring? Should I be pulling back? And if you're a business that's dealing internationally, maybe you're like, this is an opportunity to diversify my supply chain. And oh, I'm actually optimistic because I wanted to get away from the US customer base anyway. So Canadian businesses aren't a monolith, and Float's customer base isn't a monolith. But to answer your question, in the vein of uncertainty, that leads to a lot of uncertainty because there's no universal headline on a day like today. You know, I read the Wall Street Journal right before I came here, and it's like markets rocked, like biggest stock decline since like the week COVID started. And that's today. And then you do some local newspapers that, like the Producer and the Herald, and then it's like Canadian goods, if they're CUSMA, like the new NAFTA, if those goods are exempt, meaning they're produced in Canada and they're being shipped to the US, they're still tariff exempt. But if those goods originated in China and then you're selling them to the US, they're not tariff exempt. So Canadian businesses aren't one thing, but I can say right now in the vein of uncertainty, it's a moment where I think a lot of people are nervous and taking pause. And I hope you're left with a sense by the end of this conversation, and we can leave it casual. Like if you want to ask Shannon and myself questions, we're not God, we're not expert advisors, but if you want to talk about what this means for your business or your community, we're happy to do that, because it's a time of very, very deep uncertainty, regardless of where you sit as a Canadian business, and regardless of what part of the country. Shannon?
Yeah. Thank you. I feel like it's an expert sandwich. Like, why am I here with that kind of information? Well, let's find out. So maybe I'll just start with a bit of background. I have almost 3 decades of working at Canadian startup and scale-up companies, many of which have been acquired by US bigger companies. And I think just that alone kind of speaks to, the craziness that's happening. I've never talked about my history in terms of geography before, and here we are today. So the world, she's a changing. I have, for most of my career, have helped companies scale. I have helped them during the good times, and I have helped them during, the uncertain times that we're facing now. I've helped during hypergrowth and navigated, fixing things that aren't working during market shifts. And so there's one lesson that I've learned through this, and that lesson is that growth without efficiency is very expensive chaos. And I'm guessing that that's maybe why I'm here, because of working 30 years and seeing several economic downturns. I've seen 4 economic downturns in my career, likely 5 coming up. And while the details of all of them are very different, there is one consistent, and that's the signals of a successful business during an economic downturn. And this is what I've seen. The companies who were data aware, they survived. And the companies who were data aware and customer obsessed grew. And the companies who were data aware, customer obsessed, and also understood the value of their business to the market, they grew. They won the market during an economic downturn. And so that's my guess why I'm here today. You guys have all the expert details, and I have the experience of watching companies success and fail through downturns. And so I guess this is my belief. If it's not measurable, if it's not repeatable, and it's not profitable, it's not growth. Simple. To me, it's simple. So easy to say that as we look at our future. But I think if you can't do those things, then you're making noise. And you might feel like you're doing the right things, but you're not.
Okay, I love that, Shannon. Obviously, I'm hearing themes on efficiency and growth, and I'm going to pick up on that.
Okay.
I will say to the audience, just like Felipe said at the beginning, very informal. You got a question, raise your hand. I'll make eye contact, and we'll pull you in, and we'll get that question to our panelists. I want to stay with downturns.
Yes.
And I want to stay on having success with downturns and raising funds. So both Zayzoon and Float have been successful raising funds during economic downturns, like you've said, and you've seen a lot. So looking back at that, and we'll want to stay with you, Shannon.
Yep.
What is the biggest lesson learned or clearest, lesson learned on what would you do differently if you did it again?
That's a great question. For Zayzoon in particular, I actually believe they did all the right things, and that is why we saw success with getting the capital that we got. Zayzoon was probably because they had to go through a not so distant pandemic that impacted our economy. They were very much focused on efficient growth. So making sure that we were spending the dollars on the things that made sense. And so when a VC comes in and looks in our data room, they're going, oh, this makes sense. There's unit economics here. Your model's really, it's doing very well. Let's keep that going. And so I think that the way that I look at it, and I know that I'm simplifying things, but if we're doing business right, if we're serving our customers with the solutions that they need, if we understand our customers' needs and we're delivering on those in a really efficient, effective way, then we're going to survive economic times. We have the concept of, silos across go-to-market. Those cause massive inefficiencies. And so, just operating your business in a really effective way drives efficiency. And so I don't know if there's a tip or trick necessarily to this, other than doing, the right thing to grow, knowing that I'll add on, the new thing here to those 3 truths that I just talked about. The other most important thing is having a really happy, well-informed employee base. Okay, I'll hand that over.
Andrew, same question to you, of course. The lessons learned, looking back, or even, maybe the best thing you got right.
Yeah, we just raised $70 million from Goldman Sachs and OMERS. And it was a rare example of I appreciate the applause. Thank you. But it's interesting that the lead investor was Goldman Sachs, right? And we sold that like an investment in float is an investment in Canada. We have to draw the capital into Canada. And Goldman Sachs on its equity investment arm does like 3 deals a year. So like, how did we raise Goldman Sachs capital in fintech in this kind of market, right? And I think it's probably 3 things. The first thing is really happy customers. Make your customers happy. Show empathy to them. Understand them. Empathy doesn't mean doing what they say all the time, but it's understanding where they're coming from. Are they going to recommend your product? Do you understand that they're going through a hard time? Can you craft new products and services to suit their needs? And earlier in my career, my career's been in 2 halves. I spent a lot of time in that Wall Street, Bay Street world and private equity investment banking, and then I became an entrepreneur. And I used to have a lot of ego. I mean, I'm sure I still do. Human beings have ego, and I'm sure I still do. But there's this notion of like being in service to others. And I used to think, what the hell does that mean? Being in service, like I have ambition, I'm in service to myself or my family. And being in service to your customers means you operate for their benefit. Your purpose at work is to serve them. And having empathy to your customers, I think, went a long way with Goldman. The second, I echo Shannon's point on unit economics. I won't disclose our economics. We're not bottom line profitable today, but I would say a lot of startups for too long, beyond their iteration phase, ignore the costs of their product. So it doesn't mean you have to be bottom line profitable after every piece of employee headcount is in your costs, but what does it actually cost to sell your product as compared to the revenue? And do you have scalable unit economics? It sounds simple, but a lot of companies will ignore that. We came from a time during COVID where unit economics didn't matter at all, and then come 2022, 23 was the only thing that mattered, and now I think it's more of a balanced scorecard. Can you grow, but scalably and efficiently? And the third thing I say is the market opportunity. Can you prove out a large enough market opportunity? For us, that market opportunity is in Canada. We think business finance in Canada, all the payments you do as a Canadian business, whether, again, you're operating a convenience store, a farm, a nonprofit, whether it's in manufacturing or software, that's a big enough market when monetized thoughtfully to build a really big business in Canada. And so can you prove out the market opportunity? And those are 3 factors that if you get right can allow you to raise, whether you're raising a seed round or even a pre-seed round, where unit economics might matter less, but the market opportunity really matters and happy customers still matter, all the way up to, we're Series B, but sort of a mature Series B because we didn't raise for a few years. And those are some things I'd recommend.
So obviously what I'm hearing is we can certainly have success in uncertain times. And I think, Shannon, you mentioned it, but even you had an exit during the pandemic, I think you said, right?
Yes.
So can you just quickly elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes,
Is there
certainly.
anything, additionally you would add to that? Like
Yeah.
exiting, of course, is a big success during a downturn?
Yeah, as you say that, I have like 1,000 thoughts on how to answer this. There seems to be a trend, and if it's wrong, let me know. I'm happy to be proven wrong here. But tough economic times often end up in a consolidation wave. And so you sometimes see this where, M&A makes sense often for a business if they're looking to scale and grow in a healthy way. So, for example, what's it called when you hire, acquisition hire? Acquihire, that's it. Or if you're trying to get new market share, and rather than trying to go out with a new sales team or expand your sales team and move on, you can go through an acquisition to make that happen. And that's what happened to us. So I work for a company called Tugboat Logic. During the pandemic, we were, well, I guess we put our shingle out when we were going for our Series C, but we made sure that we built our business that was something that was attractive. It was acquirable. And we had a very beautiful growth engine. It was predictable. It was scalable. And we delivered value. We delivered to our customers what they wanted, and they loved us. And we had great retention. And that is the model for scale. And OneTrust was the company that purchased us, and they were actually afraid of us. They bought us because they were scared we were going to eat their lunch, and we were eating their lunch in the SMB space. And I think that, one, because of the trend, but two, because we were very purposeful about how we built our business, and we were very much driven on the concept of delivering what our market needed from us, and that made us a company that somebody wanted to buy, and it was very exciting.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so now I want to, and I hear time and time again, efficiency and growth, right? So that balance. I think, I know at Calgary Economic Development, enterprise technology is a key sector for us. Like, one of those well-established sectors is how we view it, alongside energy environment, alongside agribusiness. Some amazing success in the last 6 years, fastest growing tech market in North America, that sort of thing. One of the reasons we believe so heavily in it is because we're a headquarters city, right? We have the decision makers here, which means we have the data here. We walk it further and say, well, that must mean we're the perfect place for applied AI and applied ML and quantum in the future. So we certainly think there's amazing growth here. I would say that in some of our lead corporates, like energy environment, they have nothing but efficiency through a few, prolonged downturn. So we must be good at efficiency too. But for both of you now, what's the practical advice? How do you balance those? Those are counteracting forces, is my understanding. So what's the advice for the crowd here? And Andrew, why don't you start?
So the balance between growth and efficiency, and how do you choose?
Yes, yeah, please.
It's a good one. Every business has different prongs, like even if you're a small startup, right? So you might find that, like Shannon was saying, you might be hiring a sales team. You might be developing a new product, whether you're manufacturing it or selling it as software. You might be looking at different financing options for your business. So there's different activities that you're doing as a business. And the ones you're looking for are ones that have takeoff. And so how do you understand what has takeoff and how to not kill something too soon? One, I'd recommend not financializing everything too early. Like, give your products a few months to breathe, see how customers react to them. And if you're seeing takeoff and the unit economics look good, then you can shift some of the growth investment there. And maybe that means, in a time like this, there's not infinite resources. I mean, not ever, but especially not now. So you might have to pull away from something else. And maybe that means you're investing in a self-serve onboarding motion, but not a sales-led motion. Maybe it means you're investing in event-based marketing, but not out-of-home like billboards or digital. Or maybe there's a different combination of the variables. And so think about what has takeoff, and think about how to pull resources into things that have the growth potential. And so that's how you get efficient growth. Startups, one of my favorite mentors used to say, startups have an asymmetry of outcomes. It's sort of like a nerdy phrase, but you're looking for asymmetry. Startups aren't about a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, and like everybody goes home at 5. It's like you're working your butt off, like often 7 days a week, to find the thing with takeoff, and you're pulling the asymmetry into that area to really get that outsized scale. And that can create growth, but growth that's efficient, because scale brings lower costs. Scale might bring a brand reputation that draws in top talent that you can compensate with equity instead of throwing, cash out. So scale brings efficiency as well. What do you have to add, Shannon?
Yeah. I'm probably going to get a little more technical now, because that's fantastic, and I completely agree. I think that it's a combination of clean customer acquisition cost, shorter payback period, higher retention and expansion, in order to see that growth. And that's not difficult. It's finding the red It's finding the red in your business, the stuff that's not working. Go through it, identify what's not working, and cut it if you can. And invest the dollars in the things that you know are going to work. So here's an example. You have 3 segments of customers in the market. Look at your data and try to understand, of those 3 segments, which ones are the easiest to acquire, which ones have the lowest churn. I'll just throw those 2 out for now. That's probably the segment you want to invest in right now, because that's the segment that's going to do the most for the dollars you're investing. Get a shorter payback period. Look at your sales pipeline. If you have 5 steps in your sales pipeline, can you sit down and say, can we get that down to 4 or 3? If you're looking at churn, identifying what the pattern is in churn. And you were talking about, customer experience. The best bet to do, if you had to, your customers had to rate you from 1 to 10, and you had a group that said, well, you're a 7 out of 10, and a group that says you're 3 out of 10, most businesses will go after those 3s. That is not the way to go. The way to go is after those 7s, because those are the people that are actually going to stick around and stay with you and deliver more value to your business because you're delivering more value to them. So those are just some, like I said, kind of tactical ways to look at how to find that efficiency that will ultimately deliver the growth.
Yeah, can I add to that for a
Yes,
second?
please.
I love what Shannon said. I don't know if any of you have done this strength. Has anyone done the Strengths Finder survey? Okay. Does anyone know what the leadership philosophy is? Feel free to shout it out. Does anyone know what it's rooted in?
Double down on your strengths.
Yeah, it's rooted in tens of thousands of data points. It doesn't say, you know what, Shannon, you're amazing at communication, but you're poor at analytics. I'm sure you're not. I'm sure you're amazing. But so your performance review in a traditional company would say, let's get your analytics better because you're going to be more balanced. No. In a startup, like Shannon's saying, you find that segment, that product that you are a superstar at, and you invest in that.
Yep.
And you have to be willing to let certain customers go with empathy, of course. You have to be willing to cull certain investments. Look for that asymmetry. So just like that StrengthsFinder survey says, double and triple down on your strengths. We're not trying to make Shannon the best at analytics in the world. We're actually trying to say, how can we triple down on her communication? Because she's best in class at that. And that's what startups do. They double and triple down on what's working and invest in those segments and products that are getting that traction at the expense of others. And that's what efficient growth is all about. I love what you said.
Oh, can I add just 2 more? No, I'm not going to.
She's good at communication.
I'm good at communication, it turns out. There are 2 other areas I think that are really critical, and a lot of founders and senior executives get this wrong. It is, don't cut back on brand. It's an easy line item when you're looking at cut the fat. Well, brand we can't measure, and so they cut brand. If you cut awareness and trust during a time where trust it's receding, it's nobody's trusting anybody during this time. If you're the company that invests in brand and ensures that you deliver the trust, then you'll grow. The other one too, and this is not my area of expertise, but I do know this is true, invest in innovation. And again, it feels like you should pull back and let's optimize our product, or let's invest in innovation that is closest to the customer. So here's my segment that is just our best customer. What is it that we can do right now that would solve their next pain point? That's where you make the investment. Don't cut it out. This is how you grow.
Yeah, I love that, Shannon, and I think we explored growth a lot there on that side of the balance. What I'm hearing, double down on strengths, double down on the right customer base, that sort of thing. So let's go to the other side now. Efficiency. Some people might say cost cutting. I don't like that word. I like efficiency. But how do you identify the right areas to become more efficient or reduce cost, optimize? And how do you prevent really damaging the business? So what are the tips for the audience?
Put up your hand if you just feel in your business that something is not working, a specific thing. Anybody?
Safe zone.
Safe zone. No? Everyone's business is working perfectly?
Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah.
We're too shy.
Yeah. look at your numbers, or intuition's a form of intelligence too. It's not just about being a data, nerd, and cut things that aren't working, right? And it might mean that a certain go-to-market channel is not working. It might mean that a certain product line is not working. It might mean that a certain office space isn't working. It might mean that a certain banking relationship isn't working. It's okay to cut back on things that aren't working. We're businesses after all. We're not nonprofits. And if we're going to survive for the long term, it actually is incumbent on us to find the things that are working, because resources aren't infinite. And so we're going to run out of money if we don't find those things. So do we want to be nice and last for maybe a year longer and sprinkle the love around? Or do we want to last for a generation or 50 years and build a business that's truly sustainable? So look at what's not working and cut it. That's unfortunately the way it works. Yeah, we have a question here.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Can I make it spicy?
Yeah,
Yes.
of course.
What if it's not your decision?
Okay,
That's part of the other problem. It's not my decision to cut back on what's not working.
that's a good one.
So just to repeat quickly, I think maybe everyone heard in the back, but so what if it's not my decision to cut back?
Yeah. Anyone been in this shoes? Sorry, what's your name?
Sarah?
Sarah. Has anyone been in Sarah's shoes where, you just see it, but you can't make that call? What are some tactics people have used in that circumstance? And I'm sure Shannon and I can share some that have worked for us in our careers. But what has worked for you? If you're not the ultimate decision authority, you might not be the founder or COO or CEO, but you just know and see that something's not working. What have people done? Yeah.
Planting the seed to make it seem like it's their idea.
Okay, good. Everyone hear that? Making it seem like it's their idea, sort of at the top. Yeah.
Meeting with an executive and just squeezing that information in the meeting.
Yes.
One
Yeah.
at the back, nice and
Yeah.
loud.
Making the data a little more informative.
Yeah.
So it's guided through that decision making.
I love that, making the data look more informative. So I'm hearing from this, depersonalize it a little bit. So it's not so-and-so is bad at their job. It's we got to look at the numbers. Jane, John, this isn't working. We all want to build a sustainable business where we're driving customer value, our equity value. What do you think about a reallocation of some investment? At Float, we have a cultural philosophy. It's rooted in this book by Kim Scott. We call it radical candor. Anyone familiar with radical candor?
Yeah.
It's about caring personally and challenging directly at the same time. Say what you think and do it with empathy. In the end, if you're choosing between being nice and being kind, we believe niceness should give way to kindness, like a true honesty and empathy that is accurate. In the end, accuracy and kindness are the same thing. And so if you're going to build a business that makes it, depersonalize it, make it about the numbers or the strategy or the mission or your customers. Call the meetings with people who have that authority and share your views. And trust me, if those people don't want to listen to you, maybe it'll take them time to come around. If they don't want to listen to you and you know you're right, it might not be a place that you want to be at for the long term either, because that business isn't likely to make it. And you should make your own choices for your career also.
Oh, right on. Except for Sarah works for me. So we have a talk after this. No, she's right. No, it's so you two, Sarah and Susanna. When I first started at Zayzoon, I landed on a topic for our first kickoff as a team, and I called it our quantum growth trifecta. Do you remember that? Yeah, we're gonna get t-shirts made because it was so fun. But I think the concept applies here. The concept is we have data. We're a data economy. We have a lot of data. Hopefully you have data in your business and you trust your data. But data is just numbers. Data needs to be evaluated by something for it to be valuable for you. And this is where the trifecta part comes in. Data needs to be aligned to your values as a business. And then because marketing You know what you need to do is take that data that's aligned to the values and do something that is creative. Do something that is creative. And in marketing speak, that means aligning to your market and do something that you're going to stand out by but deliver value. And that's our quantum growth trifecta. So to answer the question about not having the power, I think you absolutely have the power. You have the power because you have access to the data and you're seeing something that isn't working. And if it's not aligning to the purpose of the business, then you have a very easy business case for your manager. So that's my take on it.
Agreed.
Thank you, Shannon. For my 2 cents, I like repeat messaging ad nauseum, and that works.
That works.
So yeah, okay. So one thing I picked up here, because we're talking a little bit on talent, a little bit decision making, a little bit really on leadership. So we have founders, we have executives, CEOs in the room and in the audience, and of course, quick digression to say, please keep your questions coming. I'm going to throw it out to the audience right away, okay? So please don't be shy. Start thinking of your questions. How do you just lead a company? We've talked a lot about making decisions, about orientating across growth and efficiency, but how do you lead a company? How do you maybe inspire your teams, keep them motivated, anything, take it wherever you want to go. But Shannon, please, how do you lead during uncertain times like this?
Yeah, I think candid, honest leadership is the most important element of leadership during tough times. People don't want to sit in the dark and they don't want to have confusion about what the company's doing, where we're going. The entire team, the only way to be successful is to rally your team behind your plans, your mission, your vision, your values during tough economic times. That's when you get the full momentum of a company behind it. If people start to panic and they don't know what's going on, then you start to have wavering commitment, you start to see missed deadlines, and then this is like a disease that spreads quite quick during scary times. I'm gonna tell you that eyes wide open, I was working with somebody not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and they missed a deadline for something that for me was really critical because I was at a presentation for the ELT. And he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't get to it. I'm like, oh, okay, is everything okay? What can I do? How can I help you? And he goes, it's just our, like, the politics right now. It's getting to me. And I'm like, oh, geez, like, I'm sorry, let's work on this together. Like, it was eye-opening for me, and I realized that I was just ignoring that and focusing on the things I needed to focus on for work. And I think it's critical to align all those points and figure out as a business what you're gonna do, and then pull the team along with you as you decide. Yeah, that was a bad boss.
No, not a bad boss.
Twice
It's
now.
Interesting. Companies like, they're more like orchestras or like high-performing sports teams. Companies aren't families, right? Like, you can't quit your family. Some people do, but like, it's hard to quit your family. Like, you can't fire your family, right? So like, how do, I'm a basketball fan. So like, when you follow the Chicago Bulls in their heyday, or like the Los Angeles Lakers, or any amazing sort of like jazz band or whatever you're into, there's coaches and conductors that would make their teams like practice in the dark together to like get to know each other's energy as they played. There's conductors and coaches who would over-index in the amount of time they would spend like getting aligned with their teams, right? Setting like really clear objectives for each individual in line with the mission. In times like this, as a leader, my belief is you must over-communicate. Communicate about what the circumstances of the company are. People are smart. They're going to figure it out whether you like it or not. So over-communicate, set really clear objectives. We talk at Float in difficult economic times about shortening units of measurement, a bit of a nerdy phrase, but like if you usually set an annual target for some of your staff, why don't you make that target quarterly or set monthly goals so that people have less anxiety about like, what's it going to be in 6 months? I don't know. Nobody knows. I don't think even Trump knows, right? Like what's going to be in 6 months. But if you set monthly goals or even weekly objectives, then people can feel a sense of rhythm in their work. So communicate, set clear objectives, over-index on the amount of time you spend getting aligned, And in that analogy of being like a high-performing sports team or orchestra or band, remember that people also are responsible, if you do that work, for what they bring into the room also. So there's a sense of accountability that comes. If you're going to invest in a leader in their growth and doing that part, they have to come into the room and be honest about what they're going through and their ability to meet their goals and targets. And some people might self-select out, or you might have to move them out. But if you have that contract with each other, that you as a leader will do your part for them, then the expectation can be that they'll do it for you as well.
That's awesome. Question for everybody. Who has watched Ted Lasso? Anybody? Okay, that's awesome. I haven't. But I assume, based on everything I've heard, he's the type of leader you want to have. I don't know. It could be wrong here. But there is a concept that I'm reading about right now. So I don't have all the data points on it. I'm not good in analytics, so it's fine. But the concept is you sometimes need people to trip over the truth for them to understand why you're doing what you're doing. And the concept isn't terrible. It is about not telling your team what it is that they have to do. You are helping your team understand why you're doing that, but they have to come to that realization on their own. And that type of concept, that tripping over the truth, like me saying, this is what's happening, you might be like, nope, I don't agree. And this is gonna, and during tough times, uncertain times, that happens a lot at companies. And so helping your team understand on their own terms why you're doing what you're doing is a concept that I think helps bring the company together so that you can push through these difficult times.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, so we have maybe 10 more minutes, I think. So we are coming near the end. So maybe a quick poll. I'm going to pick up on Andrew's polls. I love that. We got a question already, I think.
No, go
No,
ahead.
let's do it right now. I'm going to take advantage.
I might be digressing, but I know you guys started speaking about.
Yeah, good call.
This.
You were speaking about culture. So this made me think I was recently having a conversation with my friend who's moved to the US and I work at a startup company in software development. So we were just talking and he was talking about the cultural differences that he had in Canada versus working in the US. So he's working on high-stake projects just in 2 months. He's getting to travel everywhere, and we kind of have discussions around this topic. And he was like he kind of misses the Canadian culture, but the US culture is more competitive. So like it made me think. Do you guys think like the overall? I'm not generalizing in any way, but does the open culture, which I dearly love, is it hindering or unintentionally capping our ability to face uncertainties in these times? So.
Juicy, and I love
that's a
it.
great question.
It's a really good one. Everyone hear that? Yeah. Like, is our Canadian openness, perhaps, versus our American counterparts, compromising our ability to have high performance? And I'd say maybe under the law, under the wrong leadership structures in certain companies. So when companies over-index on, we're a family, you know, like we're this is just like our life's mission together. Like I think it's bullshit. Like Float is incredibly mission oriented. Our passion is serving our customers, and we do it together as a team. But it's not about the team for the team's sake. It's about the team for the mission's sake and the customer's sake. And I think if Canadian companies lose sight of the fact that we're here to win and we're here to play and we're here to give it our all and shoot our shot. And startups, by definition, are default dead, right? If you're not profitable, you're inherently running out of money every day. Even if you just raised a bunch of money like we have, by default, you're default dead. So I think Canada needs a much stronger go for gold type of mentality. These are Toby Luca's words, you know, of Shopify. But I don't personally feel, and I don't want to speak on behalf of Float here, though I know our CEO would probably say the same thing, as well as our executive team, that there are not enough examples in Canada of being unashamed of going for gold and going to win. And I don't think that's anything to be ashamed of. We want to serve tens and hundreds of thousands of Canadian companies. We want our employees to get stinking rich and build the lives that they deserve after they work their asses off for this mission. And in the States, it's like, oh yeah, F yeah, we're doing that. Or like, you started a company and failed, like, you're now the COO of my like new startup. Here, when I became an entrepreneur, it was like, what? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're a partner at a private equity firm, and you're like going to start like an e-commerce business. Like, what are you doing? And I think there are examples of companies going for gold in Canada. You know, I look at the Neos, and I look at the Coheres, and the Wealthsimples, and the Floats, and the Zayzoons, and I do think there are examples of companies going for gold here, but I think we need more. And I think we can have an empathetic and open culture, but it can't come at the expense of knowing that it's about the mission and winning. And those things can exist, but when you prioritize one at the expense of the other, that's when I think Canadian companies get in trouble during times like this.
Yeah, such a great question. I have sat in several boards and have heard this many times. Stop being so Canadian. I'm always like highly offended by this. But if you were to look at, the Silicon Valley flywheel as an example, the concept is they invest in a company, that company does well, they invest in the next company, that next company does well, and it's high stakes, but it's high growth. And this flywheel that they have built, it spits out 10 unicorns a year. We spit out a unicorn every 10 years. And so I think that if we're looking at silver linings for the terrible stuff that's happening right now, I think it is the kick in the pants that Canada needs right now to look at policy reform on innovation, on tax, on technology. And I think that it's us as companies who are saying, that's it, you're right. We can be self-sustaining technology center of the world. We don't need to lose some of our talent to the US. We don't have all the big infrastructure right now to keep our top talent. And so we lose them to the US right now, and that has to stop. And this is the moment of change. And so I'm sad to hear that your friend left us. But we have this Silicon Valley bleed that's happening. We are losing talent like crazy. I'm hoping, because it's maybe scary to live there right now, that'll slow down. And this is our opportunity right now to turn tech in Canada as the place that you want to be and live and work. But I will add, I don't want us to lose our Canadian vibe. We are awesome. We have grit, and we have passion, and we are very smart. And we don't have to be jerks to get our point across. And there you go.
Well put.
Amazing. Question right here.
Thank you for your thoughts. This question is more from an economic lens, so I think Chris will more sense for you. And I'll also invite your thoughts as well, because it'll add to the richness of the discussion. So my question is that when we were hit with COVID didn't go. We had to learn how to live with COVID. Now we are hit with uncertainty, which means uncertainty is not going away. We have to learn how to live with it. The strategies you mentioned, that we have to play on our strengths. Whatever we do good, we have to keep doing that more and pivot in the same direction. That's one thing. But if in this time of uncertainty, if we have to increase the size of pie, how can business interact with other businesses in a way that new value is created? And the size of the pie increases a bit economically on Canada.
Nice.
I'll maybe just make one quick comment, and then I'll pass to Shannon and then Andrew for that. So I think, something that we think about, especially now, is you just, of course, have to focus on something you can control. Another thing we've said a lot is that we can't leave our economy to chance. So you have to kind of seize it and be purposeful when you look at the economy. And frankly, we just released our innovation strategy. So doubling down on innovation, doubling down on some of those pieces that you can do is one of the secrets that we believe in for Calgary, certainly. So Shannon, question to you.
Yeah, I think, if you look at Zoom, I don't know how many of you were around way back in the day when we had like the Polycom on the boardroom desk, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's going by the wayside. And Zoom was okay, but it wasn't like everybody used it type of thing. And then the pandemic hit and Zoom was like, this is my time to shine. And they took advantage of it and they figured it out. And I think that we need to look at things like, maybe Zoom's a terrible example because people are probably using it all the time. But I think that what we need to do is understand the market change that's happening to the people that you serve. What's happening to them? Is it SMB retailers? You know what? Things are going to be tough for them right now because they're going to be impacted by this shitty economy. And so what are the things that I can do as a business that's in my control in order to serve them in the same space that we're currently living in? How can I solve their new problem? And I think that a lot of companies that succeeded, either one figured out how to adjust their own business, but two, figured out how to solve the new problems that the world was facing. And those were the ones that were able to see an increased pipe and convert at a better rate, all that fun stuff. But I think that that's a big part of it.
Nice. The other one I'd add is buy from other Canadian companies.
Yes.
There are so many great Canadian businesses, whether you're buying steaks from the local farms here, whether you're buying software and your procurement team, if you have one, or if you're a founder making a decision, has to mentally retrain to say, you know what, no, like now is not the time to buy American goods. Like, let's look out for our fellow Canadians here. And so we can create value by reshoring some of the procurement, whether you're buying goods or services. You can look out for fellow entrepreneurs in Canada. As consumers and small businesses go, the economy goes. So how can you support those stakeholders? And then if you're on the other side, like Float is, how can you innovate for those businesses?
Yep.
So today, seeing this crisis over the last month, we actually released a new foreign exchange product that allows you to buy US dollars, exchange your CAD for USD or USD for CAD at 90% less cost than the banks. Why can we do this? Because we don't care about making a gazillion dollars on every foreign exchange transaction. We can still do it thoughtfully and profitably while lowering fees by 90%. So can you innovate to serve a need during this time where the Canadian dollar is weak or it's harder to operate cross-border, or your fellow Canadian businesses might be facing tariffs from their US customers or higher import costs on inputs, and how can you innovate or support in that regard? And I like what Shannon said about not becoming a jerk, so you can go for gold, like with empathy, and a form of empathy is supporting our local businesses.
I just saw today, real quick, and everybody should check this out. I can't remember the name of it. You'll have to connect with me on LinkedIn to get it. It is the Canadian Tech Directory. I don't know, has anyone seen this? It's incredible. Like, you can put in like, what's a Canadian company to replace Square? And you put that in, and all of a sudden there's like, I didn't even know there were so many companies out there that could replace Square. It was incredible. There must be thousands of Canadian companies that we're completely unaware of, and we should totally be supporting.
Yeah.
Is that the one Punch Card made?
Is it? I don't know.
And it's a company? Can you tell me about it, so maybe?
That's
No, the company who built the Canadian Tech
Okay, I
Directory.
think you had one back.
Let's go one more over here.
Hello guys, my name is Inda. I'm a product designer and a psychological safety activist.
Oh.
So I definitely agree, Andrew, we're not family, but we're a great team together. I've been hearing you say the word efficiency, and I just want to put it out there that maybe I'm dumb or stupid, but when I think about the word efficiency, I think of saving time or saving money. And a lot of us here are coming either from the perspective of a startup founder, maybe we're in the middle management, or maybe we're at the very bottom of the pyramid if it's a hierarchy. So obviously you have such a rich experience of work. If you could go back, how would you say you found efficient ways to improve the business from all 3 points of view?
You want me to go?
Can
Do you want to
reiterate
go?
the
No.
three? Can we reiterate the three again?
Yeah, so as a founder, like the top.
Founder, middle management, at the very bottom, through the career. It's a very good question.
It is.
Yeah.
I'll buy you both like 30
No,
seconds. So.
yeah, let me-
I wanted to link it back to comments earlier. I hope it in some way intersects with what you're asking, but I do think, I'm a huge fan of management by objectives. I think when it's very clear of the mission and the KPIs that everyone's driving for, they start at the very top and roll all the way down to the front line of an organization, I think can be very powerful. Outcome-based KPIs, SMART goals, difficult to do in some cases, but I think it gives everyone a very clear expectation of what's expected, and then they'll naturally, I think, find the most efficient way to do it in a lot of cases.
Yeah, maybe we can alternate. We can go like bottom, middle, top. I don't know. We can each do each. But like when I think back to the start of my career, like as a young investment banker, like close to 20 years ago, it was about efficiency in my role, right? So it's a more micro lens. It is admittedly a bit more self-oriented, but that's by design because you don't have the context of the whole company yet. So how can I find a way to make this spreadsheet run faster, to make the formulas less clunky, to identify in my analysis maybe a piece of a deal that we could win, for a mining company or an oil and gas company, right? So it was at the micro level. And then when I got to more middle management, it was about now you're leading a team. It's not mandatory, by the way, as you scale to lead a team. You can be an amazing individual contributor, but as you lead a team, it's about how can you enable efficiency in your team. So if you're constructing, when I was an entrepreneur, a supply chain, I behaved like a middle manager a little bit because you're building a business from the ground up. My grandfather was a leather worker, and I designed and sold high quality leather luggage around the world. And it was about thinking with my team about our supply chain and how do we lower costs while increasing quality and looking at things like shipping. And then at the executive level, it's much more about the entire context of the business. So like, are there more efficient customer segments, market segments, strategic partnerships we can get into? So it's always about the scale and context you have at that point in your career, but the themes that you're looking for are probably similar.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was going to say very similarly, but less storytelling, and I like that. That when you're looking at the business health, I always see layers of metrics. And you can go ground up or top down, but each layer, so frontline worker layer, the team performance layer, to your point, the business operations, the executive or board layer, and all of those metrics or data points are interconnected, or they should be metrics, and they see that open rates are dropping, or we're not seeing the same uplift that we used to see. They have the ability to impact the metrics all the way up to the top, and vice versa. If I'm responsible for the magic number and I'm like, we are very inefficient in spending in marketing right now, what I do is I start to look all the way down to make sure that everything is super aligned. And that's why I think that at every stage across the business, everything has to be super interconnected so that that one layer of emails is going to impact what the board sees and cares about. And so, so I liked your stories, though. They were good. Yeah.
I would recommend also, what's your name again? Inda. Like, can you construct in your business, I know you're in the design realm, you understand psychology, clearly you're a critical thinker, right? Like, can you construct a metrics tree like Shannon's talking about? So if revenue is here and revenue is like our price times how many we sell. How many we sell is like each acquisition channel and its conversion at it, and that so you can start to break down that tree, and then at each layer of the organization, maybe the lowest level person owns something at the very bottom, like the open rate of maybe not even that. But as you scale, then you own the whole tree. So you can own a branch, you can own a twig, a branch, or the whole tree, and that's how you think about it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think we're at time.
Yeah.
So please, everyone, let's give our panelists a big round of applause. You were fantastic. Thank you so much, Senna. Thank you, Andrew. And maybe some people can swarm and ask questions and really take advantage of this experience. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoyed learning from you.